Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast.
Today we're looking at Deere & Co. The big question is it a good time to buy now?
We want to hear from you. Subscribe, like, and comment to support the show. And if there's a specific company you want us to look into, leave it in the comments below.
So let's get into the analysis. The story with Deere right now, it's really about this kind of financial tension.
Right.
The stock's shown some resilience, managed a bit of a rebound towards, 473,000 in October 2025, after things were a bit shaky earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But the number everyone's really watching isn't just the share price, it's margin stabilization.
Exactly. The market's trying to figure out, can this huge industrial company keep its profits looking good, even if demand for heavy machinery, slows down globally?
And that concern, it really stems directly from their last earnings report back in September 2025.
Yeah, that one was interesting. A classic divergence, really. It's why investors are, a bit nervous.
Right. So on the bottom line, Q2 EPS actually beat expectations. Came in at $4.75, which was like 7 and 13 cents above what analysts thought.
Which shows management is definitely pulling the right levers, trying to protect profit.
Absolutely. But then you look at the top line, the sales figures. That's where you hear the alarm bell. Revenue dropped.
Yeah, a significant drop, too. 9% year over year, down to $10.36 billion.
And that 9% revenue drop, well, it makes those margin worries very real.
It has to, right? If you're selling 9% less stuff or just bringing in 9% less cash, you've got to find some major cost savings just to keep those profit margins where they were.
Exactly. And the market, it hates seeing that top line shrink in a cyclical business like this.
Definitely. But, okay, amidst that negative sales news, management did send a signal. It was quiet but clear. A signal of stability.
The dividend.
Yeah. Despite the revenue dip, they declared and paid their quarterly dividend, $1.62 per share.
And for, long-term investors, that's not just loose change. It keeps the yield at 1.4%, sure.
But it's more than that.
Way more. It's management basically using the balance sheet to say, look, we're confident. It signals they believe in their underlying cash flow, even with these headwinds. They're telling shareholders they can still meet their obligations.
But that confidence isn't exactly universal, is it? And that's what makes this stock so interesting right now.
Totally. When you look at what the big institutions are doing, the smart money, you see this huge disagreement about where things are headed short term.
Right. We saw some big funds like Logan Capital trimming their stake by about 3%. Maybe they're thinking things get worse before they get better.
But then the counter moves are arguably bigger. You've got IQEQ Fund Management boosting their position by almost 15%.
Wow.
And Fjord AP Fonden went even bigger, increased holdings by over 21%.
Okay, so these aren't just small adjustments.
No way. These are major players making significant bets. Either they think the worst is over, or maybe that the long-term tech story just completely outweighs any short-term cyclical bumps.
It really shows there's a serious debate happening among the pros about Deere's next move.
Which is exactly why you have to anchor yourself back in the fundamentals. If you look back at what analysts were saying in August 2025, Deere kept coming up as a top defensive pick in the industrial space.
And that defense comes down to their core numbers.
It really does. They've got metrics that, frankly, most industrial companies would kill for. Specifically, a really high return on equity ROE at almost 22%.
21.97%, yeah.
And solid net margins, 11.72%. In this kind of uncertain environment. I mean, global ag is always uncertain. Those numbers are like financial anchors. They show Deere is really good at turning shareholder money into actual profit.
And that defensive strength, it's backed up by their balance sheet, which is so critical for a company that has to spend so much on CapEx.
Let's talk liquidity. Current ratio is 2.18. Quick ratio, 1.96.
So what does that mean in plain English? That current ratio, 2.18, means they have over twice the liquid assets needed to cover all their short-term bills right now?
Right. And the quick ratio, the 1.96, basically strips out inventory and says, even if we don't sell another tractor tomorrow, we're still in very good shape liquid-wise. That gives you peace of mind.
Huge peace of mind for such a massive operation. And unlike some heavy industrials who are just loaded with debt, their debt to equity is manageable at 1.76.
Yeah, for a company that needs to pour billions into R&D and factories just to stay ahead of, say, Caterpillar, that DE ratio isn't just some abstract number. It's their war chest.
Allows them to weather storms without cutting off the innovation pipeline that really is their future.
And speaking of innovation, let's circle back to that big concern, margins. Even with that recent dip in revenue, the quality of their profit is, well, pretty exceptional.
Operating margin around 15%.
which is leading the industry. They're doing significantly better than competitors like AGCO, even better than Caterpillar in this specific area.
So how? How do they keep that edge? It's not luck.
Definitely not. That margin strength comes directly from, one, heavy investment in digitalization, and two, really disciplined cost controls. They're effectively changing what they sell. Fewer basic machines, more high-margin integrated tech.
Which brings us straight to valuation. The market seems to be pricing in a comeback, right?
Clearly. Trailing 12-month EPS is $19.12.
Wow.
But the consensus forward PE, it's sitting pretty high for an industrial company, 25.25.
Okay, hold on. A forward PE of 25. For a company that just saw revenues drop 9%, is the market getting a little ahead of itself here, a bit too optimistic about 2026?
It seems steep, I agree. But look, the market seems to be betting on something more than just a typical cyclical recovery. That high multiple suggests investors believe the whole business model is shifting, which could justify a valuation usually reserved for, like, tech firms.
And analysts seem to agree.
Yeah, they've backed this up. The average price target has been raised quite a bit, up to $525.88. They seem to think the market's right to expect that return to strong growth in fiscal 26, assuming global economics settle down and that tech side really starts firing.
And that expected growth has everything to do with their competitive position. Deere dominates global ag and construction equipment. We all know that.
But their moat, their advantage, it isn't just the green paint or the machine size. Sure, the brand is sticky, powerful, but critically, it's their integrated financing solutions that create this really wide, really durable moat.
That financing piece is key. Keeps customers locked in, makes switching expensive, but the really game-changing part, the bit that maybe justifies that high PE, is the huge investment in precision agriculture.
We're talking fully autonomous tractors, sophisticated digital platforms.
This is where it gets really, really interesting for investors. Precision ag fundamentally changes what Deere is.
How so?
Well, think about it. They stop being just, the Ford for farmers selling iron, and they start becoming more like the Apple for agriculture, selling subscriptions, data, software solutions.
Exactly. Their own internal numbers suggest this shift could broaden their total addressable market to potentially $150 billion.
That's not just adding a bit of revenue. That's opening up huge new service areas focused on using data to maximize a farmer's yield, not just selling them the machine.
And that focus on software, it creates recurring revenue, high margin, predictable. Exactly what Wall Street loves to see.
And it's why they can boast a 15% operating margin, while competitors are, struggling to even hit double digits.
And this kind of massive tech shift, it naturally sparks speculation, right? Rumors.
Always. There's that persistent chatter about maybe some restructuring, spinning off non-core businesses to really focus on unlocking the value in this high-growth digital side.
Yeah, that keeps popping up. And also, don't forget the M&A buzz.
Right. Talk about accelerating the AI and automation rollout, maybe showing off new stuff at trade shows soon, and maybe looking at buying smaller, innovative ag tech firms.
Could be. Acquiring specific tech instead of building it all in-house. It's all about expanding that digital offering fast.
Okay, enough rumors. Let's nail down the concrete dates. The short-term catalysts, the why now.
Right. The single biggest one on the calendar, the main event, is the FY 2025 Q4 earnings report. That's set for January 24, 2026.
That's the moment of truth. It'll give us the final word on that margin contraction issue, and management will lay out their view on demand trends for the next year. If they show they've defended margins successfully, the stock could really move.
But even before that, there are a couple of market things to watch. December 15, 2025, that's the major ETF quarterly rebalancing.
Ah, the mechanics.
Yeah. Deere's a big component in industrial ETFs. Any shift in weighting there could drive serious volume, maybe volatility, either way.
Good point. And then, just before earnings, January 8, 2026, we get the institutional 13F filings.
Crucial data drop. It shows us what the big money was actually doing near the end of the year. Did those big buyers from Q3 keep buying? Or did they start taking some chips off the table?
Okay, so technically, what's the chart look like now, as of late October 2025?
Fundamentally, it looks bullish. The stock's trading around $478.10. That's pulled back a bit from the 52-week high near $534. But importantly, it's still in a strong bullish trend. You see a consistent series of higher lows and higher highs over the last 6 months.
And the momentum indicators, do they back that up?
They do. Stocks trading above both the 50-day and the 200-day moving averages. That's like textbook confirmation of a strong uptrend. Plus, the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, is in a healthy spot around 60 to 65.
And what does that RSI level tell you?
It tells you the stock is bullish, has good momentum, but it's not yet in that overbought danger zone. There's still potentially room to run higher before things look stretched.
And this technical strength seems to line up with what insiders are doing.
Yeah, pretty nicely. We saw some modest insider buying back in October 2025. Directors picking up shares between $460 and $480.
Management putting their own money in at these levels, that's usually a pretty strong signal they think the stock's undervalued, despite market worries.
Exactly. And analysts' conviction seems solid, too. Big names like JP Morgan, Royal Bank of Canada, they've recently reiterated their buy or outperform ratings.
And their reasoning.
It focuses right on that precision agriculture momentum, reinforces the idea that the tech moat is their biggest long-term plus and the key reason for maybe justifying that higher valuation.
Okay, but we have to mention the risks. You can't ignore them.
Absolutely not. This is still a highly cyclical industrial company. That means risks like demand ups and downs in agriculture, volatile input costs, think steel prices, and sensitivity to commodity prices overall. Farmer spending power matters.
That whole industrial cyclicality risk is just, it's always there.
It is. But if you connect this back to their track record, management has actually navigated these cycles pretty well historically. They use flexible cost controls, and they've shown they have pricing power, especially in the high-tech year.
So maybe more resilient than some of their peers.
Arguably, yes. They seem to have more levers to pull.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. The final thesis, where do we land?
Well, the overall outlook seems cautiously bullish. You've got strong institutional money betting on the future. Management seems focused on the right things with capital allocation. It really feels like a cyclical company trying to make a genuine secular leap into being a tech leader.
So potentially attractive for different types of investors?
I think so. Maybe for short-term folks looking at those Q4 earnings catalysts for a possible pop. And also for long-term holders who buy into the whole electrification, automation, autonomous farming story.
So the core question for you, the investor, right now boils down to this. Do those upcoming Q4 earnings in January confirm that growth is really coming back strong in 2026? Or does defending those margins against a global slowdown turn out to be tougher than the market's currently pricing in with that high PE?
That report in January, that's really the moment of truth for Deere & Co.